Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have another book review for you, and it is Before We Forget Kindness by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is the 5th book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, and it was good. Before getting to this review, don't forget, if you like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. Your continued support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. As always with my book reviews, I'll read you guys the blurb first. The 5th novel in Toshikazu Kawaguchi's internationally best-selling Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. Back in the mysterious Tokyo cafe where customers come hoping to travel in time, 4 new guests are about to arrive. Each of them holds a desire in their heart that only this special place can fulfill. They must follow the cafe's strict rules, however, and come back to the present before their coffee goes cold. The cafe will welcome a father who could not allow his daughter to get married, a woman who couldn't give Valentine's Day chocolates to her loved one, a boy who wants to show his smile to his divorced parents, and a widow holding a child with no name. Another moving and heartwarming tale from Toshikazu Kawaguchi. In Before We Forget Kindness, our new visitors will go back into their past to find closure and comfort so they can embark on a beautiful future. And this is translated by Jeffrey Trollot? I'm sorry, I butchered that name. It's the 5th book. If you haven't seen, I have done reviews on the first 4 books of the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. I'll put the link above to the first, and then the link to the one where I do 2, 3 and 4 in one review video for you guys. But this installment has 4 short stories in it, all from the cafe, all about people traveling to the past or the future to alleviate guilt, I suppose, to overcome boundaries, to find reasons. And it was quite refreshing in this installment. You actually spent quite a lot of time outside of the cafe, which is different from the previous 4 books. And I was happy for that because, to be honest, when I picked this one up, I was starting to feel, I've maybe visited this cafe a few too many times, but you don't actually spend all of the time in the cafe, so you do get a bit more about each character's life. Like in my previous Before the Coffee Gets Cold book reviews, I'll go through each individual story. I'll try to make this as spoiler-free as possible. I don't have too many quotes, but I'll just talk through the stories, how I felt about them, how the book overall made me feel, and then give you guys my overall review of the 5th installment. First of all, as you always know, from particularly my Japanese translated fiction reviews, there is a cat on the cover. There's no cat in this book. However, I do love the green. This is my favorite color. It's green on the inside, and on the outside it is just white with some green foiling on the side. But I do love how colorful this series is, because we have blue, we have yellow, we have another blue, a darker blue, a pink, and now we have green. So I do love the colors. They look gorgeous on your shelves. Let's go into the first story, which is called The Sun. For this one, I do have a quote from you from page 25. The first word I ever said was mama. It was just a word that came out while I was trying to communicate that I was hungry. But I soon realized that every time I said it, Mum was delighted. So I kept saying mama, just because I wanted to see her happy face. So this is from The Sun when he's only a baby, when he says his first words, and he remembers this. I found for this story, it felt representative, possibly, of autism, because this is all from a child's point of view, but they are so mature in their thinking and very logical and, I want to say, detective-like. They're really focusing and trying to work out the emotions of the adults around them. So I did like that representation. It was a really sweet story. It's a tale of a 7-year-old coming to the cafe because his parents are divorcing, and he wants to go back to when his parents informed him of this, because he is sad that he cried, and he doesn't want to cry because he says his parents are happier now. As someone from a divorced family, it was very meaningful. I know divorce is still quite taboo in a lot of countries in Asia. When I lived in Korea, there was only one student in my school whose parents were going through a divorce, and it was this big event. Unlike here in the UK, where it's quite common, it's maybe not so common in Japan. So it was really nice to see the representation, and also probably good for readers to see that as well, to help them heal as much as the character in this book is also healing. Story number 2 is called The Nameless Child. In Japan, there's a tradition where you don't name the child. Well, the same as most countries, especially if you don't know what you're having, you don't name the child until it's born. Now in Japan, you have 7 days to choose a name for that child. So this is The Nameless Child, which tells you that this parent has not chosen the name. It's a story of a woman traveling back into the past to ask her husband what they should call their child because their husband has passed away. I love the process of our character learning more about their husband, which they hadn't realised before. I won't tell you too much into that, but it's very interesting to see them working out how they reacted and how it's not how they maybe thought to begin with. And also their process of deciding to go back in the first place, because it is a difficult situation and a hard decision for them to make. Story 3 is called The Father. It's about a father and a daughter who need to see each other again after an argument regarding a marriage. Now, it's a marriage the father did not approve on, the father did not give their consent. This led to a break in the family. Of course, it's a Before the Coffee Gets Cold, so you know there's tragedy in this story, and quite ouchy. In this one, the characters fail multiple times, and that was quite refreshing because generally the characters in these books, they go back and they don't fail, or they don't fail in meeting and things like that. In this one, there was actually quite a lot of failure, which was quite refreshing to read. They also learn a lot about family miscommunications, and it reminded me of, in the 4th Before the Coffee Gets Cold book, that Before We Say Goodbye, the last story that brought me to tears was due to a miscommunication between the daughter and the father. And the 3rd story in this is quite reminiscent of that. It's a miscommunication between the father and the daughter. And it's one where it repeats a little bit of the way the father's communicating, with the daughter believing that they're constant asking if they're eating, asking about their life, checking they've done homework, and so on and so forth. It's actually them disapproving, when actually that's how they're showing their love and affection. So I did enjoy that. And then finally, story 4 is called The Valentine. And I do have a quote for you guys from this one, from page 163. I'm not prejudiced in that way. I mean, as long as it's 2 women. 2 guys might bother me, said one man. Oh, it's the opposite for me. I don't mind if it's love between 2 boys, but such relationships between girls make me uncomfortable, said one of the women. That's the very definition of prejudice. You 2 are aware of that, aren't you? Yes, in the 4th story, we have representation of an LGBTQ plus relationship, which is so refreshing. Because, I mean, this is the 5th book in the series, and a lot of them are about relationships, and we have not had an LGBTQ plus representation in any of these books. So I'm so happy to finally have that representation in here. And also the fact that Toshikazu Kawaguchi has biased characters and picks them up on this, which is so important, because people do think that these kind of conversations are harmless, and they're really not. They may sound harmless to the ears of those saying it, but if you think about the person who is on the receiving end of these conversations, they've probably heard this over and over and over again, and the repetitiveness of it is harmful. In this story, it's about 2 high schoolers who fall out with each other or disconnect, and one of them doesn't know why, and the other one is due to jealousy. Again, it's tragedy. It's Before the Coffee Gets Cold. You know, something happens that makes them want to see each other again and solve the unspoken words between them when they don't manage to meet up at a time where one of them asks to see the other. It does spend a lot of time away from the cafe, which again I found really refreshing, as we have spent 4 books up till now in that coffee shop, so I enjoyed that difference in the storytelling. So now it's time for my overall review of this book. Now, in Before We Forget Kindness, we focus on customers outside of the cafe and their stories before the event that led them to the coffee shop, which is nice to see. It gives you more of a view of Japan as well, because as I said at the beginning, I was so worried that this would be rather bland because of already reading the 4 before it. let's go into my scoring system for this book. So for enjoyment, I gave this an 8 out of 10. It didn't bring me to tears like the fourth installment did, but it was still an enjoyable, light, easy, fast read. I mean, I say light, it delves into some obviously very serious issues, but I found it an easy read. Writing style, 8 out of 10. It is exactly what you'd expect from Toshikazu Kawaguchi. It doesn't repeat quite so much as it does in the previous books about the ritual of the pouring of the coffee and things like that. It actually delved more into the evaporation of the person, so less repetitive than the last few. Plot, 8 out of 10, just because although we did spend a lot more time away from the coffee shop, it is still the same story. I'm not sure how many more installments of Toshikazu Kawaguchi's Before the Coffee Gets Cold series I can really read now before it gets a bit samey. World building, 9 out of 10. I loved seeing more of the external areas of Japan outside of the cafe. Characterizations, 7 out of 10. A lot of the characters are very samey. We do obviously have a child, we have a daughter, we have a widow, and we have representation for the LGBTQ plus community. So for representation, I gave it, I want to say 10 because it does give LGBTQ plus, and I felt it did have representation of autism in there. Yeah, I'll say 10 for this style of book. And also originality, I did say 10 if it was the first of this style. So it's been translated. There are many Japanese translated literatures that follow this style now that have been translated into English. This is the first of that type I read, so I'm attributing that style to this book, but it might not be. But for now, this is my 10 for that style. So overall, I gave this book 4 stars out of 5. It was really enjoyable. It's not quite as samey as the last 4. We did go more external. The stories were very sweet, heartwarming. They did explore more types of heartbreak or more sort of communication issues, and really looking into people a lot more and the misunderstandings that they can have. And that's it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this book review. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Tumblr. I post your books, pictures, as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!